Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal, and today we're talking about a mystery death from 1952. Excuse me. So, in the early hours of Tuesday, May 27th, a mechanic was walking to work in Los Angeles, and as he was passing through an alley between two wooden garages, he found the body of a beautiful young woman. She was dressed in stylish, expensive clothing, and the only garments missing were her stockings and one of her white gloves. There were no bruises or any other injuries to indicate that she'd been assaulted, engaged in a struggle, or had even been thrown from a moving vehicle. So the mechanic called the police, and they came and, of course, examined the body. And about 60 feet away near a telephone pole, they found a purse containing makeup, accessories, car keys, and a device with an address on it, and the name Patricia Lane Steele. So they took the body to the morgue, and an autopsy was performed that found she died either from hemorrhage or infection caused by an abortion. They figured it had taken place 24 to 48 hours before her death, and it had been performed with great skill, which left the coroner believing that it had probably been performed by somebody who had a nurse assisting. Patricia had several needle marks, including one to the chest, which made it indicated that when she had stopped breathing and her heart had stopped, adrenaline had been injected into her heart to try to revive her. The time of the abortion, about 2 a.m., was estimated after police spoke to one of Patricia's friends, who said that she had confided to her that she'd arranged for an abortion. Patricia's parents were a financier named Victor Steele, who was divorced from Patricia's mother, Jane Arnett. Patricia's father paid her an $800 a month stipend, which is over $8,700 in 2022 dollars. Police went and searched Patricia's upscale apartment looking for clues. The place was immaculate. The kitchen cupboards were full of high quality and expensive foods, including caviar. And the convertible that she used even for short trips was still in her garage. Now, Victor refused to view his body in the morgue, but he did identify her belongings. He said that he believed that Patricia had eloped to Tijuana with an unidentified serviceman the previous November. And before her death, she had made a 3-month trip to Hawaii, and Victor believed that this had been a belated honeymoon, although police were unable to find any record of a marriage in Tijuana under Patricia's name. Now, Victor told investigators that Patricia had been fretting about gaining weight in spite of dieting and reporting morning sickness. Victor said he'd mentioned the possibility that she was pregnant, but she'd laughed it off. And he wasn't convinced, and he even went to a library to check out a book about pregnancy. Now, Patricia's mother lived in Reno. She traveled to Los Angeles and identified Patricia's body, and she collapsed sobbing, crying out, "Is that my baby? It can't be. What have they done to her?" And Jane told investigators that Patricia had phoned her the previous Sunday to tell her that she had married the nicest serviceman while vacationing in Hawaii. Now, the name of the nice serviceman was never revealed in any news coverage. Now, Jane said that Patricia had been told by doctors that her health was poor and she would experience a considerable difficulty in bearing a child and might die as a result. Victor also said that Patricia had seen a doctor about 8 years before her death and was told that she should never have children because childbirth might kill her. Now, if this had been true, there would have been no need for Patricia to seek out a criminal abortionist, because even before the California laws were loosened in 1967, it was perfectly legal for doctors to do abortions for life of the mother indications. That was the case with the fatal abortion performed on Erica Peterson in 1961. This was performed in a hospital, all very up and up and in the open, and no risk that those doctors were going to have any trouble because they believed the abortion was necessary to preserve the woman's life. So it's kind of a mystery why, if Patricia's life really was in danger, she would have sought out a criminal abortion. Now, when he went through Patricia's possessions, Victor noticed that a ring, a 12-carat emerald surrounded by 33 baguette diamonds in a platinum setting, was missing. It was later traced to a Beverly Hills loan business, Patricia had used the $10,000 ring, worth over $1 million in 2022 dollars, as collateral for a $250 loan. Victor theorized that since he kept a close watch on Patricia's spending, she had pawned the ring instead of taking money out of her account in order to hide the abortion from him. Now, police went through Patricia's phone records to search for anybody who would know about her last days. Now, her doctor reported that she had consulted him the Wednesday before her death. He found that she was 4 months into her pregnancy and told him, "I'm going to do something about it." Now, Victor later told police that the doctor told him he'd argued with Patricia for an hour to try to talk her out of having an abortion. But she was going to get rid of the child because she was afraid to go through with it. So again, that's kind of odd. Why did the doctor, Patricia's doctor, who had a relationship with her, try to talk her out of an abortion if childbirth could kill her? And again, why did Patricia, since abortion would be legal if her life was in danger, not seek out a legal abortion? Now, on Saturday, Patricia had attended an engagement party accompanied by a man called either Ed or Ned. On Sunday, she'd gone to church, then visited with friends. She had seemed in good spirits and spoke about the party. And that night, she and her father enjoyed dinner and a show. She had dropped Victor off at his home at around 11 p.m., and when she got home, she called her telephone exchange to get her messages and to ask for a 7 a.m. wake-up call. She placed a call to a woman at about 8:30 Monday morning. About 10 o'clock that morning, she called the phone exchange to say she would be calling in for her messages at around 2 o'clock. And around 1 o'clock, one of Patricia's friends saw her at a beauty parlor. She was not seen after that by anybody who would speak to the police, and she never called at 2 o'clock to get her messages. Now, Patricia had been going through a really rough time. She'd taken time away from her friends and actually enlisted in the Women's Marine Corps Reserves in May of 1944 after the death of her fiancé, who was a lieutenant in the Marines. And police said they believed they had identified the doctor who had perpetrated the abortion, but pending evidence sufficient to prosecute, they declined to release his name. They did say, "He is no stranger to us. He's been operating in this area for some time." And they said they had been directed to the doctor by a friend of Patricia's who had known her since high school. And all mention of the case disappears until November of 1944. Police announced that a Los Angeles osteopath named Frank Bunker was being investigated for 4 abortion deaths and a kidnapping charge. And one of the 4 abortion deaths was Patricia. And I can find evidence Bunker was convicted on an abortion charge related to a teenage girl who survived her abortion, but nothing to indicate he was ever prosecuted for any of the 4 deaths for which he was investigated. And again, if Patricia, if her life was endangered by childbirth, it would have been legal for Dr. Bunker or any other doctor to perform an abortion on her. So, this remains a mystery. I have no idea for sure whether it was Bunker or somebody else who perpetrated the fatal abortion. And if Patricia had these health problems, why a doctor would hide her death when the abortion would have been legal.